Good morning. Welcome to Breakfast with Charlie State and Naga Manchetti.
Our headlines today. A jump unlike any before. A record number of people have tested positive for coronavirus in the UK. More than 33,000, a rise of almost 46% in a day.
Lockdown restrictions in Northern Ireland have been extended for another week, a day before they were due to expire.
And one of the most controversial figures in British politics, Dominic Cummings, says he'll leave Downing Street before Christmas.
Good morning. Left out and still left behind. People excluded from the government's support scheme speak out as new research finds a majority of self-employed workers have lost more than a quarter of their income.
Good morning. They've done it. For the first time since 1998, Scotland can celebrate qualifying for a men's major tournament after their dramatic win over Serbia on penalties.
And a spell of pretty heavy rain and gusty winds for many this morning, but things will turn dry and brighter. The sunshine will be out later. Details on that and your full weekend forecast coming up.
Good morning, it's Friday the 13th of November. Our top story, a significant jump in the daily confirmed cases of coronavirus in the UK has led to increasing concerns about the growth of the virus.
More than 33,000 new cases were recorded yesterday, a rise of almost 46% in a day. Some experts are warning, though, against reading too much into one day's data, as Simon Jones reports.
School children in Liverpool get tested as part of the citywide trial offering checks to everyone to try to stop the spread of the virus.
Yeah, definitely worth doing. You know, obviously we have to keep safe because you don't want to get coronavirus, so obviously, especially in a big school, you don't want it to spread.
There were 33,470 new coronavirus infections recorded in the UK in the latest 24-hour period. That's a record number, though testing capacity has increased greatly since the first wave. The average number of new cases per day in the past week is now 23,857.
It's important to look at the number of cases reported over a number of days and not just take one day in isolation. But it's clear that infection rates have been going up, as I've shown you, and what's really important is to get those infection rates down. That's what will reduce deaths, it's what will reduce the pressure on hospitals.
It's just over a week since the second lockdown came into force across England, with the hope that things will get better before Christmas. The streets are certainly quieter, but one theory for a rise in daily confirmed cases is that people took the opportunity for a last night out before lockdown, and because of a delay in getting symptoms and then getting tested, it's only now feeding through to the figures. The prospect of a vaccine remains tantalisingly close. On Question Time, the Health Secretary said if it's approved, the government is ready to roll it out early next month, but it won't be an easy task.
This thing isn't a chemical that's made, this is biological. Then it arrives and you have to keep it at -70, and then you have to distribute it, and it'll be a huge effort from the NHS.
But while the wait goes on, the message is it's vital for anyone with symptoms to continue to get tested.
QR code, please.
Simon Jones, BBC News.
Tough coronavirus restrictions have been extended in Northern Ireland for a further week.
The current measures were due to expire at midnight tonight. Ministers under pressure to make a decision. Under a compromise deal reached by the Stormont executive, some businesses will reopen next Friday.
The Prime Minister's most senior advisor, Dominic Cummings, is to leave Downing Street by Christmas.
The confirmation of his departure comes amid reports of internal tensions in Number 10. Let's speak now to our political correspondent, Leila Nathu, joining us from Westminster. This has been rumbling, Leila, for a couple of days now at least. A lot of people are saying it's exposing some real issues at the heart of Downing Street. Where are we now?
Morning, Charlie. Well, there had been rumours that Dominic Cummings was going to resign following the departure of his close ally Lee Kane, who was the Prime Minister's Director of Communications, who said that he was going to stand down yesterday. This was all as a result of factional fighting, personality clashes, tensions in Downing Street, which, as you say, have been exposed in recent days. Now, Dominic Cummings has said to the BBC that nothing has changed in his position, that he always intended to step down really really in the new year. He wrote a blog back in January where he said that he intended to make himself largely redundant by the end of 2020, and he's saying nothing has changed. But there is no doubt now, I think, that the balance of power in number 10 has shifted with the departure of his ally Lee Cain. They were a close team of advisors that were a legacy of the Brexit referendum campaign, the Vote Leave team who came into number 10 with Boris Johnson. They now seem to be on the wane in terms of influence, and it seems that the Prime Minister is willing to let them go, even though they have been so crucial to his political success, both in terms of winning the Brexit referendum and in terms of getting him into number 10 and winning that general election. So, you know, there will be lots of Tory MPs who have been unhappy with the way that Downing Street has been working under that close team of advisors, who will be very happy to see the departure of those close aides, saying to the Prime Minister that it will be a chance to reset things for him to have other influences and for him to focus on other policies. But, you know, I think this definitely marks a big moment in Boris Johnson's leadership, that he is losing the people who have been at his side, his closest aides, since he took over.
There for the moment, thank you. A former nurse charged with the murders of 8 babies and the attempted murder of another 10 is due to appear in court later.
30-year-old Lucy Letby was arrested following an investigation at a hospital in Chester. Our correspondent Phil McCann is outside Chester Crown Court. Phil, good morning to you. What more can you tell us about what will happen today?
Morning, Naga. Well, this will be Lucy Letby's second court appearance after she appeared in front of magistrates over in Warrington yesterday. She only spoke there to confirm her name, her date of birth in 1990 and her address in Hereford. But that hearing was the first occasion on which the names of those babies who she is accused of murdering were released. Those names included 5 baby boys named as Kemlyn Bennett, Joseph Johnson, Barney G, Joseph Gelder and Eli Gelder, and 3 baby girls named as Elsie McNall, Daisy Parkin and Maddie Freed. In addition, Lucy Letby is accused of attempting to murder Maddie Freed and another 9 babies who can't be named for legal reasons. They were all on the neonatal unit at the Countess of Chester Hospital between 2015 and 2016. That's the unit for babies who were born prematurely or with certain medical conditions. In this investigation, which has been ongoing for 3 years now, Lucy Letby's been arrested on 3 occasions, and on 2 of those occasions her home, a former home near to the hospital, has been searched. But she was charged with those offences, those murders and alleged attempted murders on Wednesday of this week. At yesterday's court hearing in Warrington, the prosecution argued that she should be remanded in custody for her own safety, and that question of whether she should be granted bail will be addressed here today at Chester Crown Court.
Phil, thanks very much. Phil McCann there for us outside Chester Crown Court.
New cycle lanes and more socially distanced pavements could be introduced as councils in England receive more money from the government to support active travel. The Department for Transport is offering a further £175 million of funding that was initially announced in May. Measures that were introduced during the first lockdown provoked a mixed response. Some Tory MPs and motoring groups saying they created problems.
Barack Obama has accused senior US Republicans of undermining democracy by going along with President Trump's refusal to admit that he lost last week's election. Senior officials from the Department of Homeland Security have said the election was the most secure in US history, contradicting President Trump's claims of widespread fraud. Speaking to the CBS programme 60 Minutes, Mr. Obama said the false allegations were motivated by Mr. Trump's dislike of losing.
They appear to be motivated in part because the president doesn't like to lose and never admits loss. I'm more troubled by the fact that other Republican officials who clearly know better are going along with this, are humoring him in this fashion. It is one more step in delegitimizing not just the incoming Biden administration, but democracy generally.
Here's Patakova. Now, 6th and final round for the world record holder. Hits that one really, really hard. Good angle of attack. And that's around 68 metres.
You're fine.
For Barbara Patakova, and she likes it. She knows it's good.
The Indian festival of light, Diwali, is normally celebrated with parties and gifts. Of course, many temples are closed. There are restrictions in place, so traditional celebrations aren't possible this year.
Chancellor Shekhar, who is practicing Hindu, has urged those celebrating to respect the lockdown ban on meeting people outside their household. Seema Katecha has this report.
Sisters Chaya and Maya lighting candles by a statue of their Hindu deity.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Like Christmas and other religious festivals, Diwali brings gifts, songs and traditional food. Although the sisters are excited about its imminent arrival, they know this year won't be the same.
We still got the lights and the fireworks, but you can't meet up with your family and friends. You have to do it on Zoom. But that's okay. At least get to see them not face to face. But it's still like a bit sad because we actually want to maybe hug them.
Their grandparents live just minutes away, but aren't in their bubble. They talk online, and tomorrow will be no different. But there'll be no exchanging of food and no dancing with cousins.
Normally we would dance and perform at our grandpa's house, as you saw. So we would dance and sing and gather.
We do a big show and we would practice for one night. We would have got it all correct.
And this year perhaps will be more poignant than usual. South Asians have been disproportionately affected by coronavirus. The girls' grandparents lost a close friend to the virus, and so this Diwali, they say, will have a sombre tone.
We are in close contact with his wife and, of course, not very far from us, being a good friend, but of course will be missed in that respect. That one friend we have lost.
The Chancellor, a practising Hindu, is urging those who celebrate to stay at home, even though they may be tempted to visit relatives.
I know how difficult it is. I mean, it's so difficult for us not to want to see each other, like it is for everybody, especially at this time of year. But we've just got to stick with this for a couple more weeks, and we're going to get through this. To keep everyone safe right now, just follow the rules.
But there are those, Chancellor, who have said that they're frustrated that the restrictions could be lifted in time for Christmas, but won't be lifted in time for Diwali. What would you say to those people?
Well, I mean, we've had restrictions all the way through this year. There's lots of different religious and cultural celebrations that happen. We can't control the spread of the virus. The virus is doing what it's doing, and we have to react to that. And that's got to be the right way to approach this.
This is Neasden Temple. It's one of Britain's most popular temples, and it hosts the largest Diwali and Hindu New Year celebrations in Europe. But not this year. There'll be no packed car parks, there'll be no line of worshippers waiting to go inside, but instead there'll be virtual ceremonies for thousands of people to watch from the safety of their home. Special days like this one bring the differences caused by COVID into sharp and often painful focus. Seema Katecha, BBC News.
6:15 is the time. Let's take a look at the papers. Now, Dominic Cummings, chief advisor to the Prime Minister, is pictured on the front page of the Daily Telegraph. The newspaper says that Mr Cummings is at the beginning of the end of his time in Downing Street, this according to their sources.
Daily Mail is calling for ministers to relax stringent coronavirus restrictions and prioritise mass testing in care homes to ensure residents do not spend Christmas by themselves.
BBC News has also been looking ahead to Christmas, reporting that a number of European countries have warned that it's too early to plan for Christmas travel as coronavirus cases continue to rise across the continent. In the UK, discussions have taken place about the four nations taking a joint approach to COVID rules over the Christmas period. There's no official advice as yet.
And The Guardian has the first British newspaper interview with the scientist behind the first COVID-19 vaccine, who says he is confident his product can bash the virus over the head and put an end to the pandemic. Also pictures the boxer Nicola Adams and Katya Jones, who've had to pull out of Strictly Come Dancing because Katya has coronavirus. Rather like the scientist's terminology there. Avoiding the scientific terminology is bash it on the head.
What?
The scientist in charge of the COVID-19, whose vaccine is,
yes,
used the terminology which you wouldn't necessarily expect, which he thinks it will bash it on the head.
Clear.
Straight
Very
talking.
clear.
Like that.
How much do you like a cheese board at Christmas?
Oh, that's a nice thing, yeah.
Do you think you would use more packaging if your cheese was packaged as a square block or a rectangular block?
More if it were rectangular. Actually, I don't think there's any difference, is there? It's just the size of the cheese.
You wouldn't think so, but apparently at Christmas we're now going to see more cheddar sold in rectangular lumps. Tesco has found that changing the traditional shape of cheese saves a huge amount of plastic packaging. Also, the manager of cheese buying at Tesco said that the chunkier pack sizes would make cutting, grating and slicing simpler. I don't know how that works, although I have had that thing, you know, when you have a rectangle of cheese and you're grating the whole thing and then it kind of chunks off and then you're left with that annoying chunk. Maybe with a square one it wouldn't.
These are real issues. If you had a nice cheese board and you wanted to swan up to it casually, maybe you'd like some slippers, men's slippers. It's the weekly Friday fashion slot in which Daily Telegraph today is talking about the joy of slippers, and it's doing a selection of slippers. Because of lockdown, so many people working from home, apparently rise of sales of slippers, some of which are very, very expensive. For example, I give you the velvet opera pumps.
Oh, I love
these ones here. I don't know if you can see these ones. They're quite sort of raffish. That's £350 for those, and they've got a kind of a little bow effect on the front, which is probably where the money is.
What was your fashion tip? What was your fashion tip last week? Was it lemon boucle? I don't know how to pronounce it. Jackets.
I can't remember.
Wasn't it?
It's quite a combo we're coming up with.
Yeah, I'm enjoying your Charlie's fashion slot.
See the headlines as they happen and watch BBC News live in the app and get the full story with bbc.co.uk/news. Follow the story for all the latest with BBC News.